These guided notes are from section 12.2, the point slope form. And for the last few days before we left and the schools were closed, we talked about slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form, if you remember, is of the form y equals mx plus b. We have y equals mx plus b, where our b is our y-intercept and our m is our slope. And this is a useful form if we know our y-intercept and we know the slope. It's very easy to graph from that. However, there's another form called point slope form, and this is also a powerful form in that we can write the equation of a line, an equation of a line, if we are given the slope and one point. And it comes from the following, that if we have a line that goes through a point, x1, y1, and then we have another point on that line, somewhere on that line, then the rise over the run is given by y minus y1 over x minus x1. And you can see the equation right here. Now, as it says in this paragraph, if you multiply both sides by x minus x1, we get this form. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, where m is the slope of a line, just as in y equals mx plus b, and the point that we are given has the coordinates x1, y1. Now, in example A, we're given an example of writing an equation where the slope is 1/2 and it passes through the point 2, 5. Now, that 2, the 2 here is the x1 value and the 5 is the y1 value. So if we substitute the 2 and the 5 into the point slope form, we have y minus 5 equals 1/2 x minus 2. And then the second part, they ask us to graph that. So the first thing we would do is find this point 2, 5, the 2, 5, and then we have apply a slope of up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Now, it turns out that crosses the y-axis at 4, so we could rewrite this equation into the form y equals mx plus b. We could do that, but we're just asked to graph it from the form of y minus y1 equals 1/2 x minus 2. Now, I want to point out here that in this formula, it's always y minus and x minus. So if your x and y are positives, this is going to be y minus 5 and x minus 2. Now, these are from page 180, some examples of what we were just discussing on the previous page. It says, find an equation of the line given a point and the slope. So we have our x1 and we have our y1. So this would be y minus 7 is equal to 2/3 x minus a negative 2. Now, there's not really enough room here, so I'm going to write it above. This could be written as y minus 7 is equal to 2/3 x plus 2. Now notice that the y value here is positive. In the equation, it shows up as a minus. For this one, we would have y. We're going to subtract the negative 1. That becomes plus 1. And we have negative 5/4 x minus 6. Then in the next two examples, we're given the point slope form, and we're asked to identify the slope and a point on that line. The slope is 3/8, and the point is -4 for your y value, and your x would be a +3. So we have 3, -4. Here's my x1, and here is my y1. For letter D, the slope would be -5/2. It's the number, the fraction, right in front of the parentheses showing the x minus part. And our point then would be x1 is -3, and your y value would be 6. Now, moving down to this word problem, it says, this town of San Simon charges residents for trash pickup and water usage on the same bill. Each month, the city charges a flat fee for trash pickup and a fee of 0.25 per gallon. Now, when you see per gallon, that signals a slope. It's an amount of money per gallon. Now, one resident used 44 gallons of water and received a bill for $16. Now, we're told that the x is the number of gallons and y is the bill amount in dollars. So, this person used 44 gallons of water, and the gallons determined the price of 16. So 44 gallons, and then this would be a price of 16. Now, what does the $0.25 per gallon represent? Every gallon that is used in water, your amount of the bill will go up by 25 cents. So this 25 cents per gallon is the rate of change for the price dependent on how many gallons you use. Now for number 3, it says use point slope form to write an equation that represents the bill cost y in terms of the gallons of water used. So y minus 16 is equal to our slope, 0.25, and then this would be x minus 44. Now in number 4, they're asking us to write this in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So what I'm going to do is distribute the 0.25 to the x and also to the 44. And this would be 0.25x. Now, 0.25 is another name for a quarter. So when I multiply here, I will get minus 11. And then if I add 16 to both sides, I end up with y equals 0.25x plus 5. And now, x is the number of gallons, and y will be the price. Now, just to finish off the bottom of the page here, it says determine the equation of the line given the point 86,125 and a slope of -18. So we would write y minus my y1 value, which is 125, and then that's equal to my slope, -18, x minus 86. And then for number 6, Violet has an internet business selling paint sets. After an initial website fee each week, she makes a profit of 0.75 on each set she sells. If she sells 8 sets, she makes $225. So our slope is 0.75, and 8 sets, she makes $225. So if she makes 8 sets, she makes $225. So we would get y minus 225 is equal to the slope 0.75 x minus 8, where x represents the number of sets she sells and y is how much she makes.